Hello and welcome to another instructional video for customers collecting their motorhomes from Emm-Bee Motorhomes. This time it's a 2015 Bailey Autograph 740, so we'll crack on and show you how all the things work. So first things first, if you need to open the bonnet on this model, the bonnet catch is just here. So you lift that up and that releases the bonnet catch. While we're here, we'll just touch on the blackout blinds for the cab. So what you do is you just pinch those two together, draw that across like so, and there's a magnetic strip on here that keeps it in position. When you're retracting these, make sure that you go back straight so that you don't crunch up these blinds. And when you put it back into position, make sure it's clipped back in properly, because if you're cornering and it's not clipped in, these can slide across. For the windscreen, it's exactly the same operation. You pinch these two little clips together here, like so, draw the blind across, and there's a magnetic strip on this here, and there's a corresponding blind on the other side, so they join together with a magnetic strip, and obviously you've got your blind on the driver's side as well. Make sure that these little pegs are put back into position correctly. As I said, if you're cornering and they slide across, it can impede your vision. You've got a tyre pressure plate here. It is worth just referring to the tyres themselves, but that's your pressures on this B pillar here. Alright, so we'll move on to underneath the bonnet. So already released the bonnet, just lift under here and there's a little catch to allow access to the underneath of the bonnet. So underneath here we've got the washer fluid fill just there with the blue cap. We have coolant reservoir, brake fluid reservoir, oil fill, dipstick. If you ever need to jump start this vehicle, then the positive terminal goes onto this metal tab here. There's a little cover that sits over the top of it like so. So that's your positive red cable. Your negative black cable goes onto this earth point here. So black cable onto there, red cable onto the tab there, and that will allow the vehicle to be jump started or jump start another vehicle from it. The engine battery isn't located under the bonnet, it's located in a floor panel which is just underneath the passenger's feet, underneath the carpet there. Okay, so I'll move on around the motorhome then. Right, so this tab here is where the mains electric comes into the motorhome. So I've got a cable here. The way you do it is you lift the lid on the cable like so, lift the tab up, slide the lid in like so, so the lid goes into a slot on the top. Bit awkward with one hand, and then you push that on like so. To release it, you press that little blue tab there, and that will allow you to pull the cable out. This is where the water comes into the motorhome, so there's a specialist cable, hose, which is just here. That block end goes into here. It can only go one way because that's where the water comes in. So you do need this special hose, which is with the motorhome. So that end goes into the motorhome. That end goes onto the site feed, so it's just a normal sort of compression fixing like any garden hose would be. Next to that we've got the gas locker. So this will take two 6 kilogram propane bottles. So the bottles go and sit on the floor like that. They're strapped in to keep them in position. This is a gas regulator which regulates the pressure that's coming from the bottles. I'm going to get you a hose that goes into the end of the top there. So off this there'll be a hose that comes off the end of that and goes onto the top of the bottles. This is called a crash valve. If it senses that there's an impact, it will automatically switch the gas supply off to the motorhome, allowing you to travel with the gas supply switched on. To reset that, it's that little button on there. Next to that there's an aerial input socket there, but I don't think it's wired up. So that's what that is, but it already has its own aerial. Moving on then, the tap that you can see just there, That is to release the wastewater, so everything that goes down the kitchen sink, down the shower and down the bathroom sink ends up in a tank underneath. There's an indication on the control panel to tell you how full that is, but we'll come to that in a second. It's a simple turn on that tap to release the wastewater. You always know where it is roughly because it's behind the rear axle. Next to that, we've got the toilet cassette. Now the toilet flush on this model is separate, so you've got a tank here with water in it that is the flush for the toilet. So into this you can put the pink flush chemical, which stops any mildew building up in the tank itself. So that needs to be full in order for the toilet to flush. Underneath that we've got the waste cassette, so when the toilet needs emptying, there's a cassette in there that's pulled out and then that's emptied on this site waste disposal point. So to empty that, you lift that up, okay, so you undo that little catch there, slide this cassette out. Okay, so in theory then that would be full of toilet waste. To empty this, you push this nozzle forward like so, unscrew the cap off the end like that, and then with the cap off, turn the cassette upside down and pour the waste away at the designated disposal point. As you're doing so, push this button in here, it lets air in. As the liquid is pouring out of the other end, it stops it splashing. When you've done that, what I tend to do is fill the cassette full of fresh water again for a rinsing, and to do that you slide that forward, open up this blade, fill it full of water, close it all up again and then rinse. You'll then need to put chemical into this, so the required amount of blue chemical, or the sachets if you want to use those, are put into here, and line the bottom with a little bit of water, close the blade up, and then it's ready to use again. You'll notice that this has got wheels on the bottom and an extendable handle that allows you to wheel it over to the disposal point. To put it back in, make sure that the handle is pushed back into position like so, the nozzle is down, and push the cassette back into position. That's lockable and you need the Bailey key to do that. One very important thing to notice with this toilet system is that you've got a container full of water that is the flush chemical here that you've filled up. If you leave water in that and it freezes in winter, it can expand, it will damage the tank and all the associated pipe work. Very important that you drain that down. To do so, you pull this pipe out that's just up here, this black pipe. It's got a cap on the end, pull that cap off and it will drain all the water out of this tank, which we spoke about, which is the flush for the toilet. Working on around the motorhome then, this one's been fitted with a sturdy towing tow ball. The tow ball is removable, so that's in the motorhome, so it just clips into there. So it's got like a swan neck towing eye, which is extendable, which is removable, sorry, and that's stored away in the bag just there. This is the storage compartment underneath the bed. I'll show you that in more detail when we go inside. I think this has been fitted with legs that will steady it. Corner steadies. In fact, no, it doesn't. I don't know. I'm not sure what that winder's for, but we'll come back to that. So that's just storage for underneath the bed. Next to the main habitation door, we have two vents for the fridge. What it does is it draws cool air in at the bottom, expels warm air at the top. It is important that you keep those free of debris so that the fridge can basically breathe and cool. This model's got an awning. Now there's a separate video on our YouTube channel on how to operate the awnings, so for anybody that wants to Google search that, then there is a video explaining those things. Okay, we'll move on into the motorhome then. First things first, we've got a control panel here. This is the Bailey control panel. To wake everything up and switch it all on, you press the master switch. Okay, so you can see there, master switch on. To scroll through the menus on this, you basically click these arrows. So your water level, that's your fresh water level, reading there. Your waste level, which I showed you how to drain that down outside on that grey tap. You can switch the pump to an external pump. You don't really need to do that. It's only really if you've got a container of water on the floor and you want to pump from that container into the tank, which is already built into the motorhome. Next one along is your external temperature. It's a hot day today, and we've got internal temperature as well. You've got a settings menu. I'm not going to go into that just for the purposes of this video, but there is an instruction manual explaining all those things. You can select your which battery you want to use, so whether you want to use your leisure battery, which is designed to run the 12-volt system, or your vehicle battery. I would strongly recommend you leave it on leisure unless your leisure battery is completely flat, and then for emergency purposes you need to use your engine battery. That's showing you how much draw is being taken from the battery. At the moment it's 0. That's probably because I think this has got a solar panel, so we're not actually drawing anything from the vehicle. Sorry, I'm going to have to scroll through again. So 0 amps are being drawn. The leisure battery is in very good condition. It's in 13.4 because we're plugged in, so that's why we're not drawing any amps. And then we're back to the main menu. So that's your master switch. Your pump, that switches the water pump on. That's the pump that's inside, which I'll show you in a second. That's pumping water from the onboard tank through all the pipe work and out of your taps. And that's just your awning light, and then you've got your lights. So if I switch that on and off, you see you've got your lights. Light switch is just there. Next one along is your heating. Okay, so this has got Alder heating, which uses radiators rather than a blown air system. So to switch that on, it's the on button there. Just give that a long press and it wakes the control panel up. Okay, so to operate this, just showing you here, it's indicating that we've got a main supply coming in. It's showing you what the temperature is. To operate this, you press the menu button, select your desired temperature by pressing up or down on this here. So I'm going to set this to 22. Okay, so that's the temperature that you want the motorhome to be at. This is your water temperature. So if you want hot water, I would just leave that on full and mix it with cold, so you've got a lot of warm water. I'm going to switch it back off just for now. This one here is how you want the motorhome and water to be heated. So if you press 1 or plus on there, you've got 1 kilowatt of electric, 2 kilowatts of electric, 3 kilowatts of electric. The reason for that is if you're on a low ampage site, then just use 1 kilowatt and then you won't blow the fuse on the site. Okay, so that's electric. And then if you wanted to use gas, it's that button there. Okay, so that switches your gas on. You can use it on gas and electric together, so if you want to heat up really quickly or you want to heat up your water really quickly, have it on 3 kilowatts and gas. I'm going to switch that off gas now and off electric. There's a settings menu. Again, I'm not going to go into that. There is a separate control manual which shows you how the settings are operated. To switch everything off, it's just a long press on the button again here. Okay, to swivel the seats around on the cab, it's that lever just there. So if you pull that lever like so, and then swivel the seat, that allows you to swivel the seat around. This customer's asked us for an Avtex satellite navigation system, which I'm going to show the customer on the day that they collect. The swiveling seat mechanism is exactly the same on the driver's side. This model doesn't have the seat belts, but it's got the nicer open lounge arrangement. Under this flap here is just storage. Your blinds and fly screens, for the blind, you just pull up from the bottom. For the fly screen, if you've got the window open and you don't want insects coming in, then it's from the top, and they can be clipped together like so. To release the clip, you just push like that and lift the blind up. That's exactly the same on all windows, and it's a very similar system on the skylight. You've got a blind and then a fly screen on opposing sides. To make the bed up at the front, you simply draw these two together. As you can probably see there, they're on legs, so this section just draws across. This one here just draws across, and it'll make a bed in the centre. This hatch just here is where the water tank is housed. So this is your fresh water tank. To gain access to that, you open this up by unscrewing the lid. And to drain this down, I don't know whether you can see there, but there's a plug. So if I reach my hand in here, there's a rubber plug, and it's housed just around there. So you pull the plug out of the bottom of the tank, all the water from the tank will drain onto the floor. Very, very important that you drain that down for winter. If that water's left in that tank and it freezes in winter, you can imagine it'll expand, it'll crack the tank. The water pump is just there, and I'll just run through what you need to do when you've first filled up with water. Make sure if you're going to put that back on that lid is screwed on very tightly, because when you fill up with water, if you fill it right to the top, the water will try and squeeze past that seal, so you don't want the tank to leak. When you first when you first fill up with water into that tank from outside, what you need to do is open up your taps and switch your water pump on the control panel, which I showed you, and then wait until you get a pure flow of water coming out of your tap. It's more important to do it on the hot side, so switch your tap onto hot, and wait until you get water actually coming out of your tap. If you try and switch your water heater on with no water in it, you're just heating thin air. So that's the reason that you need to wait until you've got a pure flow of water coming out of there. In winter, when you've drained down that tank and the wastewater tank and the boiler, I'm going to show you in a second, open up these taps like so. So leave them open. I didn't put water in there. So leave the taps completely open for storage, for winter storage, because what it does is it lets air in to the tap as water's being fed out of the bottom of the tank at the bottom. We've fitted a TV for this customer. Okay, moving on to the fridge. Just move this table out of the way. Okay, the fridge, it's a three-way fridge, so it'll work on 3 different power outputs. Top one is off. That is mains electric. It's a little symbol of a mains cable. That is 12 volt. That will only work while the engine is running, so it uses the engine alternator power to cool the fridge. It won't get cold on that setting. It only keeps it cold for while you're traveling. The next one is gas, so it'll run on gas efficiently as it will on mains electric, which is that one there. When you've selected gas, what you need to do is push this button in here with it turned round to maximum and press the ignition button. Okay, you'll hear it clicking, and when it's ignited with both these buttons pressed in like I am doing here, you need to wait until that needle goes into the green. Okay, and you need to probably, once it's gone into the green, wait about 10 seconds and then release these and make sure that it stays in the green section, then you know it's lit. Okay, if you let go of these, if you let go of the ignition button and this as it's pressed in like so, and that shoots back in, that needle there shoots back into the white section as it is there, the fridge is not lit. Okay, so it won't work on gas. To open the fridge up, you push that button down like that, and that reveals the fridge with the icebox. It is important not to let this fridge sit with the door closed if it's not on, because you'll get stagnant air building up in here, which you don't want. So there's a little catch here which you can just push forward. It's just a bit difficult with one hand, but that little catch there, if you push that forward, it pushes a notch forward on this section here, and then that little hook goes into the notch, but it's further forward, so it keeps the fridge door slightly ajar basically. Okay, this is the bed. Now the customers asked us to supply them with a thinner mattress, which is the one that's on top of here. It's just like a topper. If they wanted to take this off, then it's a thinner mattress. The boiler is housed just here, so that's the Aldi boiler, which is dealing with the hot water as well as heating the motorhome. To drain that down, and it is very important that you drain this down for winter or whenever you're not using it, there's a little yellow tab, which is just this one here. Okay, so this is probably the most important thing that you need to do for maintenance on this motorhome. That yellow tab drains all the water out of the boiler. Again, if it freezes, water's left in here and it freezes, it will damage the boiler and all the associated pipework. That is in the closed position, that is in the open position, okay? So that will retain all the water within the boiler and allow you to use it. When you push it up like that, it's draining all the water out of the boiler. So if you're not getting any hot water through your taps, then that's the first place you need to look. But that's also your drain down procedure for winter use. Sorry, not for use, when it's not being used. So when you're going to lay this motorhome up and you're not using it and it's in storage in winter, make sure that that yellow tab is lifted up. Okay, this motorhome has a freestanding table, which is this one here. It's stored away neatly in that section there. I've just removed it so that I've got access to underneath the bed. So this freestanding table, you can sit it in that section there so that you've got a dining table. Moving on to the bathroom then. So the toilet, whenever your toilet's required, lift the lid up. On the front here, there's a catch which slides to and fro like so. What that does is it opens and closes the blade, which I showed you on the cassette that's outside. So whenever you're traveling, keep that blade closed. When you need to use the loo, open the blade up, use the toilet. The flush button is just here, so you press that button, flushes the toilet. When the cassette's full, there's a little light that comes on just here, but you can actually see down into there how full the cassette is. Okay, so once you flush the loo, make sure you close the blade back up, because you don't want to be travelling with the a full cassette in there, because it could slosh around. Okay, the toilet itself is movable, so it's a swivel toilet, and then further on from that we've just got the shower. So again, whenever you're draining it down for winter, make sure all those taps are open. So you've got the kitchen, the shower, and this one just here. Okay, that completes the instructional video. I'm sure there'll be questions from that, but I'm more than happy to answer those on the day of collection. So we look forward to seeing you on the happy day that you're collecting this beautiful new Bailey motorhome.